right, so episode 7. We're here at
8, 9,
maybe 8, 9, 10.
somewhere in there.
Lost track. We're here at TAC at Seven Springs, Pennsylvania. Just so happened that good buddies and partners of ours are here, and we took the opportunity to kind of sit down, bullshit, talk about just how they got started, the saddle hunting industry, how much it's pretty much became its own self in the hunting world over the last few years. I know Timmy started saddle hunting, way before it was kind of popular.
Yeah, but right before it hit the big uptick that all the companies are back around, I got bit by it quick. I mean, it was way nicer to be able to go into a piece of public and go deep and not have to worry about anything, lightweight. So
Yeah, I remember sitting at the dinner table. We went out to eat one time, and these guys were talking about saddle hunting and am steel, and I'm just like a little lost here. I was still in my hang on and shit like that. So got Derek, Greg Litzinger, Corey, and Jake. So just gonna kind of go around the room, introduce each other, go from there. So Derek, you been with Latitude since the get-go almost, or?
No, I started with Latitude 2 years ago, or going on 2 years. Yeah.
Cool. Good deal. And you kind of handle like content and...
Yeah, so I guess you could say I'm responsible for shooting a lot of it, and then as the editing process for photos and videos is kind of like a three-headed dragon between me, Alex, and Aaron. We kind of all just tag team on that. And then Aaron does shoot a lot of the raw stuff too, and so does Alex sometimes. It's kind of just a team effort. There's really no one guy's doing that.
Cool. Yeah, that's usually how it goes with a big group of guys trying to...
Well, when I first got hired, I was kind of doing all of it. and then it really worked, so we brought Aaron on to kind of go bigger, and so I wasn't just focused on all of it myself. We had someone to help, and it's been working out great having him there with us.
Good deal. What about you, Greg?
I don't know. Alex, I did when they were doing the Vitals. We just became just internet friends, and they kind of brought me on board just as not necessarily a partner or whatever. Just they sent me some gear. I tried it, and we just kind of built a friendship. Met everybody here, and here I am. A few years later, I try to do what I can. Trade show wise. I live relatively close to this, so I just help out wherever whatever they need me to do. This year was not a good year for content for me, or killing. I did a lot of injuring, but
Stuff happens, man.
yeah,
It's part of it, right?
Yeah. Speaking of injury, there's that. But yeah, I like the trade shows. I like the Harrisburg show and ATAs, this stuff like this. It's fun. I went to Michigan last 2 years for the TAC, and that was hanging out shooting bows. It's nice to meet like-minded individuals.
Yeah. You're from New Jersey, right?
Yeah, South Jersey.
Gotcha. Yeah. Kind of adds a twist into where we're all from.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, you, Corey?
I'm the marketing director, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah, so my day-to-day life's just making sure we're staying on top of getting ads out, making sure the website's running and product launches are going smooth, and getting the content together, working on the pictures, and just kind of executing the marketing strategy.
Cool. Good deal. It's a big role. That's for sure. Did you and Derek get into almost at the same time, or?
Yeah, so I guess I was kind of employee number uno at Latitude. They did have a girl at the warehouse. And 2 weeks into working here, we decided to do this hunting series. That was kind of something Alex and I talked about early on. We're like, well, we need some guys to film some content. And Derek and I had known each other from just partying at ATA the year before. So he had called me, congratulated me on the Latitude job, all that stuff. And yeah, so that was good. We had a great talk and decided to hire D-Rock, and the rest was history. Went out to Nebraska. I had worked with Latitude for like a month and a half, just kind of me and Alex, like behind the scenes working on some marketing stuff. But really the first time we were all together was in Nebraska. And so Derek's first day on the job, and my first day kind of meeting the team, we were heading out to Nebraska with Jake and the crew to hunt. So it was interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that was fun.
All new faces on a hunting trip. That's definitely a different ball game. But
Yeah, I met Al at the bar with Corey in ATA, and the next time I seen him, I was in a tree stand with him, or in a tree with him, filming him hunt. And that was like, there was no like break the ice moment. They just pulled up and was like, "Hey Al, no, nice to see you, Derek. Nice to see you. Let's go scout."
get your ass in the tree.
And that was it.
Yeah, we were lucky.
do everything.
Right. These guys had been hunting out of state, so it wasn't like we rolled up to camp. You know, Jake is a connoisseur of camp. Like, I've never seen a guy set a camp up in my life, Jake Metallic. So, like, everything was rocking and rolling. Alex is a diehard hunter, had been travel hunting, so he kind of had that whole system dialed, and it was kind of an easy transition. It was just like, hey, tag along, figure it out, and let's go, you know? So it wasn't me and D-Rock might have been lost, but I don't think they were lost.
What about you, Jake?
Jake Metallic, Chief Operating Officer at Latitude. And then, you know, with a company this size, we have to wear a lot of hats. So in addition to that, like the business side of things, you know, Kevin and I do a lot of or most all of the engineering and part of the product development. We also have Matt Tompkins, who just came on board, who is helping with that a lot now on the soft goods side, and then Alex obviously helps a lot with. I mean, he's responsible for selling the product, so he's
Right.
integral, very integral in the development process as well. So we do a lot of different things. So titles don't really mean a whole lot in
Yeah.
Latitude,
Yeah.
but. Yeah, I'm also our resident logistics expert for setting up camps and trade shows.
You're also the head of HR.
Yeah, head of HR.
He drug tests all of us.
Shut up. No way.
Jack of all trades.
That's awesome. Yeah, so Latitude started how many years ago now?
Really started probably, I mean, I can barely, we have so much going on all the time, I can barely remember last week. But I believe we started sometime in the fall of 2018. We didn't launch the company officially till late June, early July of 2020. But 18 months plus prior to that, we were just focusing on launching the first product that we had, which is the Method saddle, the original one. And then, so it started out, I guess, the real backstory. I mean, it goes all the way back to probably like 2012, 2011, somewhere around there.
Holy
in
shit.
college. You know, we always kind of wanted, Alex, Kevin, and I were always really good, close friends. We met, Alex and I went to high school together, and then we all went to University of Michigan together, all three of us. The three of us all met there, and we were always great friends, and we had lots of interests in common, and we've been hunting and fishing buddies ever since. And we also all kind of had this itch to, go into entrepreneurship of some sort. We've always been tinkering with different products, and we've done some things. Originally, I think we were working on a broadhead in college, and we had a design that was kind of similar to some of the designs you see out there with like the NAP Kill Zone, and there's some other ones similar to it, kind of like the Rage broadhead, but sort of like the inverse mechanical function of that. You've got, instead of slots in the blades, you have slots in the ferrule. And we had a design like that, and then we're like working on getting it made, and then I think the NAP Kill Zone came out, and I was like, oh, well, that's done. Somebody's been working on this a lot longer than us. So
Damn.
So that was, I think, the first thing we worked on. And then, between that and Latitude, there were a number of other things as well. Some stuff around 3D printing, some different like fly fishing reel designs. So we've always been working on different stuff and just kind of looking to find that, product or, invention or modification to something that
Right.
that would actually be successful. And also kind of at the same time, I think saddles were gaining more interest than maybe they have in the past. And we were all hunting public land. Alex and I hunted a lot in like the southeast Michigan area around Jackson County, Livingston County, Washtenaw County. And we were going in on kayaks and just trying to find ways to get away from people as best we can. It's kind of hard to do that.
That's a
it
tough
turns
state
out.
to get away from people, especially Michigan.
Yeah, everybody gets to every spot
Yeah.
around that area. But, it was wasn't new to us, but that's what we were trying to do at the time. So we were kayaking in, using canoes to get tree stands, a couple miles back. And we were using cheap stands that weighed a ton, pulling them through cattails on sleds once we ran out of a creek or a pond to cross on the kayaks. And I think most of those are still back there. And around that same time, Kevin really started getting into it as well. He didn't hunt as much in college as Alex and I did because he was playing football at U of M. So, in the fall, there's
Oh,
absolutely
shit,
no
I didn't
time.
know that.
Yeah. So
Jake
he really.
Jake played.
Oh, you
I
forgot
walked
to
on-
mention that, Jay.
I walked on as a kicker in I think 2009, 2010.
Damn.
When during the Rich Rod era there, and then I made the fall roster as a I guess you'd say freshman when it came to eligibility, and then that fall, Rich Rod was fired. Brady Hoke came in, and they kind of nixed the walk-on program that
Gotcha.
Rich Rod was kind of known for. So they cut a lot of people, and that included me. So I had more time on my hands the rest of college than Kev did. So yeah, after college, he really got into hunting because, I think we're all kind of competitive guys and like to challenge yourselves. So you need some activity to do where, you get that fix. So, and when he started getting into it, he's also the kind of guy he's always looking for something, new to do. And he was kind of new to the area he was in. He was the first one to actually start using the saddles out
Gotcha.
of the three of us. And then, we went to that. We all went to that too. And I mean, it was an instant, it made sense immediately. But at the time, nothing was quite like we wanted it to.
Right.
And, being who we were and liking to tinker with stuff and build things ourselves, we started prototyping saddles and different types and configurations. And after probably literally a couple hundred of them, arrived at that first gen Method 1 design. And at that point, stuff was really starting to move, I think, in the, if you call it the small industry or niche that it is. And we kind of recognized that we had to move fast at that point and get something out there. And that's when we launched in 2020.
Yeah. So it was a lot of years of planning, tinkering, messing around.
Yep, and then and we've never done or got that far with anything before. And one thing you realize is you spend the first 18 months, 2 years working on something like that. You're just focused on the product side of it the whole time. And as soon as it launches, there's absolutely, with three guys, there's absolutely no time for that anymore. And you go into spending 100% of your time doing all the business, activities of,
Right, now
of
you
the
go to market.
endeavor. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't matter if you were, whatever you're selling. You could be making toothbrushes or something.
Yeah.
It's everything. There's a lot of crossover. Just running and managing a business. And then after a year of that, I think that's when we started expanding. You guys came on in 21, right? So Corey was our first official hire that was not a family member helping out. And then Derek after that, a few months later.
And then Jarrett was right after
Oh,
me.
yeah,
Jarrett
no,
was
yeah,
next.
you're right. Jarrett was next,
Yeah.
and then you.
No, it was me. and
How can I
Jarrett
forget
got-
about Jarrett?
Yeah, Jarrett was right with me. Yeah.
Jared's the guy behind the scenes keeping the whole business running.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I've met or seen him really.
He was at Harrisburg.
He's the long-haired
Couple
guy,
first days.
tattoos.
He doesn't have a twin, does he?
Yes, he does.
He works for us too. Yeah.
Oh, that's him.
Yeah.
Cole runs our customer service now, kind of helping out with a lot of other stuff too.
Almost identical twins.
They are identical twins, I think.
No, they're-
Yeah.
I had.
They're not. Oh,
They're not identical.
Jake's coming.
I just learned
He's like, no, they're not.
they're my boys. I got them.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Ah, shit. I didn't make that connection that those. Oh, damn. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. Like, I remember when that all was like unfolding. It was like, is this real life? Like we're going to hunt with my buddies, and now we're all going to start working together, and just
Yeah.
this is going to be a job. And it was weird. I mean, it was like a surreal feeling. Like this is
Yeah.
Dude, I remember at the
Awesome.
at the campground when we were staying at in Nebraska. I went to the the shower house because the camp was just sitting in the shower. And I'm just like 2 weeks ago, I was hanging drywall. I'm like, this is so weird. Like this is my job now, hanging out with these guys. It's so cool.
It's cool though.
cool
It's
stuff
definitely cool.
rolling. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't beat that. Yeah, we're kind of similar too. We've met through the hunting industry, if that's what you want to call it. And then kind of from there, just taken off. We've been 6 years?
Yeah, yeah.
6 years.
What's
yeah.
crazy is our whole group, the same as you guys, started in Nebraska.
Oh, really?
Really?
No kidding.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, we went to Nebraska. And it was me, Colin, Nick, Brandon, and another guy, Pete, who was originally part of the group. And I had just got done. I was with a group called Standing Dead Outdoors, who had an outdoor show, and I got done with that, and we were gone. And Nick's like, "Dude, like, let's start something." And I was like, "All right, man. Like, I'm all for it. Like, YouTube is where it's at right now. Let's try to figure it out." I mean, it was slow, but whatever. But it was our first trip was to Nebraska. Everybody was going out there, and we were like putting all the pieces together. Like, how are we going to do this? At that time, I didn't even have an Instagram. Like,
And he still doesn't know how to run it.
yeah, like
I'm
I
the
mean,
same way.
I don't want anything to do with it. Like, I was like, they're like, you got to get Instagram so we can keep talking. I'm like, dude, what in the world do I need this for? You know?
Alex and Derek are taking over my social media for me.
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, that it's crazy to think that.
Wasn't Colin and Nick's first time ever meeting out in Nebraska?
Yeah.
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 And Pete, I never met Pete either.
Yeah. So what Derek was saying before the podcast, it was like you had just met Alex or something. He's like,
Yeah, I met him in ATA. We were at like the after party at the PBR bar or something. That was the only, like, it was just like we were hanging out there, and then never actually had a normal conversation with him outside of that. And that was the first like in person conversation we had was there.
That's cool.
Cool. And then I met Corey there too that
Yeah.
time. And I wasn't even there to meet Corey. I was going there with Latitude, and he was too, because I had a show on YouTube, Full Draw Assassins, and he had a show, Hunting Junkies. So we both kind of worked with Latitude, and they invited him to ATA. I went to ATA, and we just kind of kicked it off because those guys, Alex, Kevin, Jake, were talking to dealers and stuff. So we're just hanging out, and we ended up just shooting the shit, and that was it. We
Clicked
kind of
from there.
we kind of kept in touch for a little while. Never thought I'd be working with them, but it's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So other than the three co-owners, no one else really knows each other. In a way.
Not
Except for-
beforehand.
Yeah.
Garrett and Cole were twins.
Yeah. True. They definitely know each other.
But yeah,
They
Like
definitely know each other.
Aaron Blyce, who runs the Fall Podcast, I remember meeting him at ATA. And as we were growing Grit, like we filmed the first year of Grit, and we got into that winter, and we were going to ATA, and I was like, Alex, like, Aaron's he's got it going on. Like, the dude's, I mean, he filmed the Kiefer Brothers. He produced everything the Kiefer Brothers did for years. He was producing Mark Peterson, I believe, on the on TV at the time, and I was like, Aaron, like, oh my gosh, we got to steal him.
Grab him.
Right. So we started talking about his podcast at the show, and I think we had been sponsoring the podcast, or Alex had sponsored at some point, and we just kind of hit it off. I'm like, Aaron, like, we're gonna go and do this, and he's like, all right, tell me when. And he came, and then at the same time we met Jake Bush at the Mobile Hunters Expo, and then Jake came on board, and just like a lot going on at once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably tough to sort out all the kinks. And
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to describe, and we talk about it a lot, the industry moves so fast. And perfect example in my head is whenever you look at when people release episodes on YouTube nowadays, it's like THP releases turkey episodes like in February, and then people are dropping bows like in September of 2024 for their 2025 lineup or whatever it may be. It's constantly moving so fast, and if you don't keep up, you kind of get lost in the weeds.
Yeah, and the industry's moving, like you said, it's moving fast. But like the big takeaway I had was like, you just run into someone at any of these shows or any time, and you just like, hey, how you doing? Just talk for 5 minutes. You don't know where you're gonna run into that person down the road. That's like what happened with us. And it's like,
Yeah, it's very small.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
extremely small.
Yeah.
Like people think like, oh, we're out here like trying to buy this sow or buy that sow. Like these guys must hate each other. It's like not really.
yeah,
No.
no,
Half
You
these
can't
guys are
burn
all-
bridges.
They're all our friends.
Yeah.
We hang out with these guys at every show.
Right.
And they're all good people. It's actually a lot of fun because it is a small knit group. I mean, it's the nature of the beast. The only reason you work in the hunting industry is because you're passionate about hunting.
right.
And that's human nature. Be attracted to people that share the same passion that you do.
Right.
Exactly.
That's what makes this industry really cool because everybody here, you could sit across the table and drink a beer with anybody from any saddle company, and you're going to get along with them just fine. You
Right.
know? And it doesn't matter what gear you're running. So
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I've told Jordan and those guys for years how like small it is. I was like, you can go talk to somebody, and today, like we're here talking to you guys, and if we don't hit it off, that next guy down the road's already going to know by tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how crazy it is. Like I was like, you can never ever burn a bridge, no matter what you try to do.
Like, it definitely gets dramatic sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, there's
Yeah.
there's no question about that.
it's too much testosterone.
Oh, it's yeah. Something, yeah.
Bunch of
and-
running
and-
bucks.
Oh, I shot a 168. Oh, I shot a 170, buddy. Like, there was 2 more inches on mine.
Better
but-
watch out.
right? Yeah. So that's cool. So since you guys have started, you guys had the method, and then I started running the method too. Honestly, probably 4 or 5 years ago, and since then, you guys have released a lot more products, including the first carbon fiber stick I think that was introduced. If it wasn't the first, it was the second. So if you want to talk about a little bit more, like where that idea came from, or kind of where that has led you guys to, because the carbon speed stick has been a niche in our setup for sure, especially last year, since we're all running it now. I'm curious, when did all the brains or when the thinking come for that? Because you had said that you started testing hundreds of different methods, and then it went live. So when did the carbon speed sticks kind of start taking off, or in your head?
That stick itself, was focused on for 2 years, where it is today. And then prior to that, I mean, we'd have been working on different stick designs since we started, since we launched the first saddle as well. That was going to be the next. We actually got the platforms done first because, aluminum is a little bit more.
It's a no-brainer.
It's a familiar material. It's easier to work with than the carbon technology that we're using on the sticks. But yeah, I think climbing sticks, just it's a tough thing to do because some people want standoff distance from the tree. They want to have the stick right in the center of their foot, be really stable and comfortable. Obviously, a lot of people want something that's very, very lightweight. It obviously needs to be, very strong. And then I had one more thing there I wanted to say about it. The point
It's
I'm
too
trying,
much.
the point I'm, getting to is that there's a lot of different factors that are wanted in a stick, and it's very difficult to put all those into one stick.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trade-offs there. So, in trying to get, sort of the best of all worlds, we started looking at some different materials. We wanted something that was light, fast, very packable, and compact package. So we wanted the flush stacking. It's a single piece design, so there's no hardware. I mean, just adding hardware adds a couple ounces to any stick. So, that was a plus that we wanted to go for. And then the carbon technology, there's a lot of different things going on at the time with carbon technologies, a number of different ones that we looked at. And the stick that we kind of landed on that everybody sees is the one that fit those purposes the best.
Yeah. Yeah, you made a good point. If everyone in the industry tried to make one product that would please someone, it would never work because everyone has their own taste.
Yeah, and you're never,
You're
even
never
if you
gonna-
thought you did,
Yeah.
somebody's still not gonna like it.
Someone's always going to nitpick you and give you shit for the product that you have. I mean, that's obvious. Everyone deals with that. It's just like you see it in the industry all the time. Oh, you saddle hunt. Oh, I tree stand hunt. Okay, well, I mean, whatever. Like, it's no big deal. It doesn't matter if you're loving what you're doing and enjoying it. So, yeah.
Yeah, we stopped reading the comments sections, a few years ago now.
Yeah, I think that's a human problem, not even
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
hunting problem. That's everywhere.
Yeah.
Anything you do.
You got to pull those for a team meeting and get a good laugh at some of them, I'm sure. So,
Yeah, social media has ruined a lot of hunting. I sometimes wish, no offense to Tim, but that Colin and I have talked about before. We were kind of brought up in that order style hunting where, if you shot a buck, you kept it between your families and your friends, but now you post a picture of it, it's like, oh, that's a dink or whatever it may be. It's same thing, when you're creating a product, it's all over the place on social media. You have to deal with negatives and positives. So,
Yeah, this kind of gets back to what we were just talking about earlier, but I don't think people realize how much effort goes into launching a product and a small business to bring something to market at scale. I mean, not just in the hunting industry, but the hunting industry alone. Like, that's why we look at all these other companies with respect, man. Like, this stuff is not easy. It's a grind, like figuring out how to manage your cash, and you start getting to hiring employees. And I'm sure these guys can tell you they probably didn't sleep much a few nights when they figured they got to pay us now and all this stuff. It's a lot, and more respect to anybody that brings something to market, especially at scale or in a retail store, and it's a lot. So. Yeah, it's cool though to see the process at the same time. It's neat.
definitely has its ups
Seeing
and
the finish
downs.
line is the best part about it. When it's like, it's out, everything's good.
Right.
We did everything.
Yeah, I think 9 months is probably the quickest we ever got anything from idea on a whiteboard to an actual finished product.
Holy
just-
shit!
just
Even
that-
the smallest product, like I know you guys have.
Well, the ropes the Vaporline ropes, that took 9 months. Like that new bow hook that we just launched this week, the first prototypes of that were actually done just like literally 1 week shy of a year ago this weekend.
something so simple like that. I mean,
To actually,
to
actually launch
to
it.
my brain
Right.
it looks simple,
Right.
but
yeah, the research and development part of it's where it really takes its time and making sure you perfect your craft and stuff. I mean, yeah, it's definitely makes sense.
yeah, there's a lot of companies out there. We were just talking for the podcast. Won't mention them, but you see a lot of companies trying to take off or just trying to rush it. Saw it at Harrisburg last year, right around our booth. Just like not so much even copying, but like just trying to. I'd say like jump through loopholes just to get a product out there that looks appealing to the eye. But little do they know that, one, it might fail. Two, you're not backing it with anything else. that's one thing that, you guys do a great job at. Adding team members too, obviously helps that. But yeah, it's something that you can't, like the back end of the business, you can't lack on, I guess, is what the big thing about
It's
it
the
is.
process, really. I mean, if you like Corey said earlier, it's the passion that really keeps us all here. Because without it, if you're doing it just for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reason, and the frustration and time and like obviously costs and everything, it adds up. And it's definitely the process that keeps people here for sure. And that definitely separates companies that are successful and those that are not.
Yeah,
So.
definitely. Yeah. So while we're on the topic of products, and then we can probably just get into like a little upcoming hunting plans or whatever we want to talk about. You guys have any products you're launching that you'd be comfortable talking about? And might be a few here or there. Or
You want to talk about them, Corey?
It's like your turn.
Jake's like, I developed the damn things. You can talk about them.
Have Greg talk about it.
Yeah.
Give it to the marketing guy.
Nick wants me to talk about him, so when Alex finds out we talked about him, I'm the one that gets in trouble.
I could talk about them then.
No, I'm just kidding. We got a lot coming out. This will be kind of a monumental turning year for Latitude, in my opinion. We got, I think, 13 products coming out, and if you think about the existing size of our product line right now, it's basically, I don't want to say it's double, but it's in the ballpark.
So it has to be pretty close.
Right. Right. So, actively right now we have one saddle for sale. We did sunset the Classic. That might come back just temporarily if we get some inventory in time. But we're going to go from one saddle to 3 saddles. So we got 2 new saddles coming out. We got 2 new backpacks. It'll be the first Latitude backpacks at the shelf. We got 2 versions of that. We got those coming in multiple colors, multiple camo patterns. So really excited about that stuff. And then hard goods, we got a brand new platform. In my opinion, that's the item I am the most excited about. Kev and Jake did a hell of a job designing that. I think it's something that's a first of its kind. But not only is it first of its kind, it's also affordable. So you're gonna get the premium top of the line saddle platform features in a affordable, price friendly platform, which is gonna be awesome. I think it's gonna make a lot of people happy in the tree, a lot of people comfortable, and it's really gonna make it nice on your pack. It's gonna fit, be streamlined, and I'm excited about that. But bunch of other accessories. Really, everything else is kind of accessories, right?
Yeah, the support system.
Yeah, you got the
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the two bow hook accessories. So those are launching this week. You can come down to the booth and see those. And then Derek said the back straps, or calling them the back straps, but
Yeah.
essentially this is going to be a I guess a harness, back pad, and shoulder straps with waist strap. So you can add that on to any mobile tree stand that you like to use. And one thing I guess to mention about Latitude is, we kind of see ourselves as a mobile hunting company. To us, any particular saddle or tool, it's just another tool for the toolbox. There might be certain scenarios where, something other than a saddle makes sense, and we're always changing the way we hunt too, and we're trying to be opportunistic in the way we hunt. So sometimes that requires different tools for the job. So with that, mindset, we're also looking at products that fill other needs as well, besides just the saddles, sticks, and platforms that are obviously kind of our bread and butter at the moment. So we've got some products like that coming as well.
Yeah, to a point, like we talked about earlier, pleasing everyone is obviously really hard. But if you expand your product line, you can hit kind of the nail on both ends in a sense. So that's cool, though. You guys' first product line did a hell of a job. It'd be cool to see what you guys have in store. Dropping pretty soon.
Yeah.
August.
We hope, right? I mean, we had 9 months on that bow hook.
Yeah,
so
you might see some of the new saddles a little bit sooner than August. We're going to try to get everything out as quick as we can. But, you'll see some new products rolling out here in July and August.
Cool.
Yeah,
Good deal.
bow hooks go live this weekend.
Yeah, those are a lot. I mean, those are.
Yeah.
I don't even think about those. There's just such small items on
Jake,
my plate. Those are done. We got them done. So
Jake
I don't
actually
even have to worry
designed
about
the
them
bow
anymore.
hooks from start to scratch too, completely.
Oh shit.
Yeah, whole his concept. He hates when we talk about that.
They look great, Jake.
They do look great.
We did. They're not new because they've been out for a little while, but we did redesign the knee pads too that we had,
Yep.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
knee pads.
and we got a different color too. We have them in tan now as well, not
Nice.
just gray.
I swear by those things. Timmy gives me shit because he's a tough 55-year-old, but I sit.
Oh, I'm not that.
I sit
He's
so
gray,
much.
not that gray.
I sit so damn much, and Nick gives me shit too. Do you sit a lot?
I stand a lot. I just
What's wrong with? I don't know, but
I don't just tough.
maybe I'm
out, man.
soft. It could be soft.
Calves are small, so I can see why you sit.
But those knee pads for the last. It's funny. I beat the shit out of those things, and they've held true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these ones are actually new. So the ones you were running from last year, so those got redesigned. They look identical. They're very, very similar, but they do have a new custom cap. It's got a lot better grip, and the padding's actually double of what was in there.
Oh,
so
shit.
Yeah.
They'll last longer. They're
Cool.
pretty mint.
Good deal. To snag them, for sure.
Yeah, I might have to get a pair for once.
I mean, you're getting kind of old a little bit, but
Yeah.
Gotta take care of
might-
those knees.
Might get your ass beat at camp.
he asked to borrow mine in Kentucky.
Dude,
I was like,
no, I didn't.
absolutely not. He didn't.
Yeah, I know when I accidentally leave those in the back of the truck and walk in.
I've been there before.
It's a bad feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
This
forgetting
is
your release
suck.
in a point. Yeah. I forgot mine on my toe at the one time, and it wasn't during an audit, so I was like, son of a bitch. Like, I'm not going to be able to do this. And I don't think I did. But, no, that's cool. So, kind of leading into what we were discussing earlier, we travel a lot. You guys obviously travel a lot. That's only, 96, 97 days away.
Depends where you're going. It
Yeah.
gets closer than that.
Yeah,
I mean,
the Dakotas are early. You guys got some upcoming trips planned out. Chop travels like a son of a bitch. I mean, he really does. You were behind the camera most of the time last year, right, Derek?
99.9%. So I travel like a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So we talked about it a little bit. It was what you guys are thinking about doing Kentucky. What you were, right?
I might hunt Kentucky. I live in Ohio, so I always like to try at least buy a tag down there. But yeah, I mean, we'll hunt. Probably go out west. Alex and I drew Kansas this year, so neither him or I have ever hunted that. So that'll be huge on our list. Really excited about that. And then I'll probably go to Indiana, and in Ohio. So
Cool.
yeah.
Good deal. What about you, Derek? Kind of wherever the camera takes you, or?
Yeah, so that's the cool thing about filming is I haven't dropped Kansas once in my life, and I'll be able to go there 2 times in a row because I went there last year with Jake Bush, and I'll be able to film Alex there this year. So I guess that's the plus side of my job. But yeah, Nebraska with Al, Kansas with Al, and then Wisconsin. Obviously, we get a really nice piece there that he worked hard to hunt in that area, and we became friends with the landowner there. Really good friends actually, where we go there in the off season, watch their chickens for them and hang out with them, and it's been a good piece to us. And then Ohio, and then depending on what happens early in Kansas and Nebraska, that will kind of tell us where we're at in November.
Yeah. So
And then me, I hunt every year a week in PA for rifle season just to get up to camp and stuff, and that's about it. And then we'll just see where it goes. Last year we didn't really have a plan. We kind of just were playing off weather and trail cameras and where we had to go, when we had to go there. But I think this year we kind of figured it out where we've been going the last couple of years, so we know the right times to be there. So we're not really killing ourselves as much.
yeah, there was an episode of, you mentioned Wisconsin. There was an episode of The Grit. Was it Wisconsin, that giant buck?
Yeah.
It was following a doe and didn't pan out.
Yeah,
but
so that's the spot, and we shot a decent one there, a really good one.
can we
And
get
that's-
can we get the pins or?
Yeah, we shot a really good one there, and we actually seen a really big buck. Well, Alex seen it. I couldn't see it. He was in the field, and it was real thick, and He says it was as big or bigger than the one from that episode. So it might be even him.
Yeah.
Because, but we don't know. We're gonna go back there and see if we can get eyes on him again. But
Do you know if he made it through, or don't you know?
not sure. I mean, we're not there during gun season or anything, so we don't really know what
It gets
goes on
pounded
there. Yeah, I hope so. There was a lot of nice deer running around, so
Yeah.
we'll definitely have a couple chances next year. I guarantee you. If we go that same week that we've been gone, just kind of lights up. One day we were in Wisconsin 3 or 4 times last year, and I think we didn't really see anything with horns until like a 3-day period, and that's when he ended up killing. And it just turned on one day,
Right.
and then he killed that buck, and killed that buck, and then we went straight to Nebraska from there. And was that, Jake, like day 3 that me and Al killed that buck in Nebraska of that trip?
I think so.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't consider that your day 3 since you guys were there for like 8 days a month earlier.
Yeah. We went there. So we went there in September, like we did the first time we went out, and he killed the first time. So we're like, we got to go back there. And we went out there in September, and it was hot, and we seen a really nice buck. We glassed a really nice buck in velvet. He was like 400, 300 yards away because it's wide open.
Right.
And that's the buck we ended up killing in November, actually. It's the same buck.
Oh, that's cool. Damn. What about you, Greg? Traveling a little bit.
This year might be.
Yeah. What'd you do?
I fell at work and tore a ligament in my wrist. They repaired it, but the repair didn't do what it was supposed to do. So another repair might be on the menu for me.
Damn.
So
Before season, or don't you know?
it depends on when everything lines up. So
Yeah.
if it is before season, I'll be shooting probably a mouth tap from the ground with a mouth tap.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
That's badass in its own way.
Let's be honest. Most people wouldn't go to a mouth stab; they go to a crossbow. Right.
I can't do it. I was
Yeah.
like,
What do you call a crossbow?
cross gun?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we do too.
Yeah, I just can't do it. It's like I can still, if I had a bum shoulder, maybe, but it's like I can make do with something
Yeah.
else. Like if this was
Absolutely.
not working, then maybe a cross gun.
Yeah.
But my luck, I'd shoot the biggest deer of my life with it. And I just had to look at I don't think I could mount a deer if I shot one with a crossbow. It was literally just like on the basement, like
Skull cap.
the trash pile of shame. I don't want to see that thing. So hopefully it pans out sooner than later,
Yeah.
and everything goes well.
If you had to pick a state, or if you had a state in mind that you could go to this year, where do you think you'd go?
I have unfinished business in Delaware. I hit it.
Damn, that's so for us. I mean, for maybe a lot of people, that's like a crazy, like Jersey, Delaware, that little area right there.
I've been
That's
hunting it for years, and I've yet to. I hit a big one last year, lost it, hit it in the loin, and it's like
yeah,
I just wanted to knock it off my list so I can go to another state because I like to hunt a state till I kill, and then it's like okay, I can go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And like Delaware's been like just beating me up, and it's like all right, any season now. This I want to
Yeah.
be done with it and move on.
yeah. So you had mentioned in one of your Instagram posts, I remember the one time you hunt like the swamps or something, in
Salt marshes.
salt marshes. That's what it's called.
Yeah,
Is that like
it's dumb.
Is it? is that like a native term in New Jersey? I've never heard
Yeah, we
another
call it
state.
salt marsh, like
Okay.
brackish water. Like I live 20 minutes from the shore. So
Okay.
it's like we're just all brackish waters. And there's big deer, but not a lot. So it's like I might go 20 sits without seeing a deer.
Oh, shit.
But usually if I see a buck, it's like, hey, all right, like it's worth the 20 sits.
Yeah.
And if it's not, it's a lot harder than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more competition the last 10 years with podcasts and YouTube videos and all that stuff. So it's made it a lot harder. I have a lot more competition.
Mm-hmm.
A lot good. Before it was like standard people, but now there's a lot of versed hunters out there. So not only am I trying to, beat the deer, I got to beat another good hunter. So it's extremely hard, which I like. I don't want an easy by any means. Like
Right.
I'm a guy I don't ever see myself putting in for Iowa or anything like that.
Yeah.
Care less. No offense to people that do Iowa, but to me it's just like, There's a bunch of 140s running around. it doesn't really get my heart moving. And if I'm driving 30 hours, I'd rather go shoot elk.
Yeah. Right.
Because it's like it's 30 hours for me to get to Montana. It's like I'm going to driving that far. I want to shoot a mule deer or an elk.
Yeah.
You know, personally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Jake, so I guess a question for all of you. During the hunting season, who handles like in the back end of the business, or does any? I mean, how hard is that to manage?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
As you'll notice in the grit episodes this year, I'm not in that.
I was going to say that's exactly what I was going to say.
Someone's got to do the sacrifice.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. The business has really started to kind of increase, say exponentially, the last couple of years. And yeah, it's the time of just kind of being able to drop everything and do whatever you want whenever you want is, I mean, that's long gone. So, I mean, it's a lot of work, and it might look like. And we do run around a lot and try to hunt as much as we can, but you know, it's also very well balanced. There's a lot of extra time and, you know, extra work that's going into allowing for that. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, we're slowly adding more members to the team to help, you know, spread out the burden of the work that needs to be done a little bit more. And so we're getting there, but, you know, we still do wear a lot of hats. And Alex is kind of our chief marketing, or you're the chief marketing officer, Corey, I guess.
Nice.
Alex is what, chief product or chief brand officer, something like that. Like I said, titles don't mean a whole lot.
Too much.
So, you know, when we started this, you know, we really wanted to show people that, you know, we stand behind our products and that we use them and run them, and, you know, expect a lot out of the gear that we're making. And Alex has really taken that and headed up running that part and putting that content out there to show people that. And it sounds like it would be, you know, a dream, but it's definitely grueling.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Gritty.
How many deer did you guys shoot last year? I think you got, what, 3? And
2.
Two?
Yeah.
He shot one with Joe in Ohio.
Oh. Yeah, then you shot
Oh,
one. Yeah.
deer on the ground.
2.
2.
Yeah, and then nice.
And I don't know how many days you guys hunted, but probably
Way more than the first year.
60 plus. I
Yeah,
would
it was a
guess.
lot. Yeah, we were hopping state to state to state.
Yep.
That's
So,
a
I mean,
grind.
it's and Alex is the right guy for the job when it comes to that stuff too, because he is, and the reason that he is successful in hunting and fishing is successful as he is he's one of the most just persistent people that you'll ever see. I mean, when we're fishing a river and it's a tough day, he'll cast 1,000 times into the same stinking spot and never give up. And then eventually he'll hook a 12-pound steelhead on one of those 1,000 casts. And he's the same way with deer hunting. So, but yeah, it's definitely a grind. And
Team effort.
when it comes to hunting shows, TV shows, I don't care if you're hunting public, private, whatever. I mean, it's a lot harder and more grueling than it looks on any YouTube or TV show.
Yeah, definitely is. Yeah, filming's a whole different ballgame. Personally, I don't like it as much. I mean, self-filming.
Yeah, you got to step back. We mostly self-film the
Yeah.
whole time, so it's a way different game than if someone's in the stand with you.
Yeah.
You know?
I've
So
plenty of opportunities, just not blown. Just finally see the buck that you want to shoot, and there you are trying to get the camera on him, and he just walks right through your window, and it's like, son of a bitch, like. But at the same time, when it all aligns and you do get that shot on film, you can't beat it. Especially when you have a storyline built up, because like we talked about, I think a lot of the industry now is like that raw, adventure, live, like want to be there type of feeling. And no one really, I mean, I shouldn't say no one, but I still occasionally, I might be speaking for myself, but I still occasionally like to watch like the well thought out, like the big ass deer walking through a food plot. But at the same time, the industry, in my opinion, has moved to more of like a, I want to feel like I'm there. I want to know why that deer is doing that. I want to know why you're standing in that spot. So whenever you have a well thought out storyline, you can portray that. You can kind of give like that sense of adventure to your film. It definitely helps out a lot for views. Not so much views, but just overall, when you watch it back, you're like, shit, you know.
Education.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it goes back to what Jake said about how much of a grueling grind it is. And that's one of the things I really love about running around with Al is like the reason we do that and go so hard and like not sleep and constantly running is because we are running our equipment, Latitude's equipment, to the max. Mm-hmm. And we're running it harder than most people have the opportunity to. And we do that for a reason. It's because it's like, if we're running it like this and most people aren't, this is a good product. Like, we got the good product.
Yeah.
And we're beating the hell out of it. And that's how we know it's a good product. And
Yeah.
we feel comfortable putting it in hands of people that are, they're not, most people aren't hunting as much as us because of what we get to do and what we're blessed to do. But that's one of the reasons we go so hard, is to test these products to the absolute max ourselves, as the employees of Latitude. So
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, we ran it pretty hard last year too.
I felt like you guys were all over the place.
Yeah.
yeah.
Every time I took
That's a normal
my
year, though.
Instagram, they could send me
Yeah.
another deer. I was like,
Yeah.
God dang.
Yeah, that's a normal year. I mean,
It is actually. I mean, we're very fortunate.
yeah.
I mean, we are.
I-
We have connections in multiple states,
Right.
so. But
Like, me personally, I know I'm already going to hunt at least 4 states, so,
Yeah.
and hopefully more. I got a goal this year. I screwed up in Ohio last year, and so, which would have been deer number 4 of the season. So, like, I want to beat 4 this year. Mm-hmm. Like, that's going to be my goal.
we were we were talking about epic footage and epic storyline. Just we won't go far into details, but we were out in Ohio. It was like the 3rd week of November last year, and we struck out. I shot a
That's when we were there.
dink.
too,
I shot a
actually.
dink. Oh, was
Right
Yeah.
before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. That's a really good year for
Yeah.
us.
That
think-
week's always good.
Yeah, we were there for 3 days and had like everybody on the 3rd day was in some good deer. But
Yeah.
we weren't there long enough. 3 days isn't enough.
Yeah.
It took us a little bit there, but I shot a dink, and then the focus was on Tim to get one. And one of our members, Nick, he moved out there. He lives in West Virginia, but it's close to the Ohio line, and he's made some great connections just through landowners. I'm sure you guys have experienced that. Maybe you haven't, but the more time you spend in the state, that from what I've learned and what we've learned, is the more connections you make. You just run into people. Hell, last summer we were out there. Were we shed hunting? We ran into Mrs. Debbie.
Oh yeah, we were getting breakfast.
Yeah, and I was just, I don't know, guess I'm a social person, and I just was like, "You got any hunting land?" And she was like, "Yeah, actually, I do." And we ended up scoring. Was it
Is it like 30 acres?
30? Yeah, it was like 32 acres or something. She kicked us off, but that was because of the neighbor. But so anywho, we've made some connections, and last year in Ohio, Timmy and I went out just like you guys do in the pouring down. It sucked. It was miserable. We walked up this public creek bed right on the edge of this permission piece, got in this money beech tree, actually saw the buck that I screwed up on. Didn't screw up, I guess. I mean, I missed it on film, didn't shoot. And it was one of those spots where it just clicked in your head, you know. It was like, this is it. And the next day we had a buck that only shows up the 3rd week of November, usually on it's weird. We called this doe Big Mama. She goes into heat real late. She usually has triplets, and you can tell it's her. She looks like a freaking cow walking down through the woods. And we hung the set, and pouring down rain. Went back. We preset pretty much, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. Went back the next day, and Timmy, we hit a limb, right?
Yeah, there was like when he came through, he was in the wide open, but there was a limb like right here in my face I didn't see. It was like literally foot away. And as soon as I released, I watched my arrow go sideways this way, and I was like, uh-oh. And I mean, Nick caught him back. Like it literally caught him like right, almost just a little bit in front of the hams, and then went out, and it hit. The angle was backwards. If it would have been the other way, we'd have walked up on him dead. But it was the opposite way, and it hit him back and cut his back leg. So,
Jeez.
yeah,
We
yeah,
used-
that's just a simple mid 140s deer.
We were out there for what, 5 days?
Yeah,
And you're failing to forget the story that deer has been hunted for about 4 years
Yeah.
prior.
The
So
big eight.
our buddy Nick was trying to hunt that deer for a long
Yeah,
time.
so
Nick
Nick
it meant
has
a
been,
lot.
Nick has been hunting out there for years, and like I said, he only shows up. It's the weirdest thing ever. This property is. It got so we can tell that story, but it's a thicker than dog shit property. Just the green briars and a ton of browse, and this buck really has nowhere else to go. We can't figure out why he only shows up the third week of October or November. And Nick's a very selfless individual, and pretty much let Timmy and I just take all of his properties by the rein. And he had been hunting this deer for
At least 2 or 3 years.
at least 2 or 3 years, yeah. And when he came down that ridge, Timmy and I, actually, we didn't know what deer it was at first. And then when we watched the footage, we were like, that was the big 8. It was just like a name. He's just a framey
Yeah,
8.
it was like a
140
28-inch beams.
class.
so he wasn't an 8
Huge.
anymore. He was a 10 with kickers and shit going all over the place. Like,
He's a stud.
Yeah. So that property recently got subdivided and subparceled out for Mossy Oak Properties. Hate to see that. It was 240 acres, and they subdivided into 9 chunks. So, unfortunately, but that was the first time I got to see. I don't know if you guys have used it yet, but drone recovery too. Really cool. Timmy
not
walked.
that cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was bittersweet, I guess.
Yeah, that so a guy that I've been friends with for a long time down there, his buddy has a drone, and he's like, we'll just call him and we'll go. I was like, all right. So I call him, we go out there, and he puts it up, and like we kind of direct him to where the shot site was from where we're at, and he goes over, and lo and behold, he's like, oh, right there's a deer. And it was that deer laying there. And now when he was laying there, he looked really injured. Like his legs were all sprawled out, like he was head down. But what was it? The next morning? No, that night.
No, that night we went.
It was
chasing
13
Mexican.
hours difference. Yeah, we were eating dinner, and cell camera went off, and there he was chasing a doe.
Yeah. So I was sitting across from him in the dinner table, and it was me and I forget who was beside me, and it was Nick and Tim, and Nick goes, "Oh, my cell cam just went off," and their faces went white. I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like we were gonna give him time and sneak up on him in the morning with a gut shot, or whatever. Well, actually, we were thinking he'd be dead,
Yeah.
and sure enough, he was chasing does the same night, which goes to show how tough and resilient those animals are.
He never really showed back up after that, did he?
No, and now the property's sold.
Yeah.
Nick just pulled his cameras and everything, left no trace of himself there.
I was going to say, that deer usually wintered on that property. Once he showed up in November, he just stuck around. Man, he picked up one of his sheds.
He picked up the matching set.
Yeah, he
just
got
a few months apart.
Yeah. It was all chewed up, wasn't it?
Yeah, yep,
Yeah, but the one side was obviously pretty fresh, so
yeah,
yeah, it sucks.
yeah, absolutely.
So let's go back and touch base real quick on like how each of you got into hunting. We can just start with Derek and go right around the room.
Yeah, I got into hunting, I guess, the traditional sense. I started gun hunting with my grandfather. Go up to my deer camp in PA. And as I got older, I really just wanted to hunt more than just 1 week a year. So I figured out that you could bow hunt because he wasn't really a big bow hunter. And then I went to Cabela's, saved up some money, bought my first bow. And then I knew a guy that a little older than me that went up to kind of the same area where my deer camp was for bow hunting. And I tagged along with him, and I went up there, and I shot my first buck with a bow that first year I was up there. It was just a really nice property that he had, so I got pretty lucky on that, and I was hooked from that. And then just kept at it, picked up a piece local to my house in Bucks County, PA, where I'm originally from. Started filming hunts, and I'm here now. That's pretty much how it started.
Nice.
Let's see. My dad was a hunter. This is what? I started at 14. I'm 46. That's a long time. We've always been a public land mobile hunters. My dad never hunted the same property morning, evening. So right from Jump Street in the morning, we're in a canoe paddling up. In the evening, we're hunting somewhere else. And then as I got, moved away, I just always hunted public and always with a climber, loggy bayous, then the lone wolves, then the hang-ons, then the saddles. And I primarily target just public. I'm just not a fan of private, especially in New Jersey. They're smaller pieces, like you're kind of stuck on 20 acres.
Yeah.
That just drives me crazy. So I like big parcels where I can move and be free. That's pretty much.
Good deal.
Kind of similar. My uncle was really into hunting when I was born. He actually was a professional bass fisherman, and did the bass tour and did all that, and got done with that. Started bow hunting pretty hard. Got my dad into it. I was 4 or 5 at the time. They got me one of those youth bows. Started shooting, doing all that. So I shot archery for a while, but I didn't start hunting till kind of end of high school. Playing sports, doing all that. And my uncle bought some land, and he actually shot a giant out there. He shot a 227, and I was like, this is crazy. So he started taking me out there with him, started hunting around the house. So, I grew up in the suburbs, so hunted little small parcels wherever I could. Started killing deer out there, and kind of similar story to Greg. I loved hunting suburbs, but I needed the adventure side. So just kind of started figuring out the public land thing. I had a local lady near me sew me a saddle. So I had my own saddle, made a platform out of an old tree stand seat, and just started hunting public land, man, and started filming all that and doing all that. After my uncle killed that big deer, he started, his biggest regret was he didn't film it, so he just started filming everything we were doing. So, we were putting in food plots on his land, and I'm running around the public land whenever I can, and just loved it. Fell in love with the whole adventure side of it. So, I think the rest was history.
Nice.
Yeah. I think everybody's probably background's a little bit similar. I can't really think of a moment where I was ever, gotten into hunting by someone else. Like I know that when I was in kindergarten, we used to go up. My grandpa and grandma had a cottage on a lake in northern Michigan, northern lower peninsula of Michigan. And, we'd just be out there fishing and catching frogs and snakes and, whatever all day. And it's like, that's just always been what I liked as a kid. I used to tell kids in kindergarten I was like from the country, and I'm not from the country. But I thought I was, because I guess I thought I belonged, up there.
Yeah.
And even though we'd only go there for like a week every year. And then, always fished since I could hold a rod and reel, and then gradually got into hunting as well. And, middle school, high school, started probably shooting a bow, 13 or 14, and, hunting some small private pieces that we could get permission on from family, friends, and stuff like that. We never had our own family hunting property or anything like that. And then in college, we kind of started getting more serious into it. Like Alex and I particularly would hunt together all the time. We got some permission on another kid who we went to high school with who didn't hunt. His grandparents owned like an 80-acre piece of farmland in central lower peninsula, and that's where we started hunting really hard. We were out there every day we possibly could. And this was 80 acres, but there was only a 5-acre chunk of hardwoods on it, and back, furthest corner from the driveway in. And there was another guy who hunted out there with his son. And eventually we got kicked off. I think that guy convinced the landowners that these guys we don't see any deer anymore because these guys are out there too much. But that's where we started seeing some good deer and kind of getting more obsessed about it, I guess you would say. And after that, we switched to the public and kind of like Greg said, just not having to worry about, people giving you permission or, there's property lines obviously on public, but with the big pieces, you can go into places that are just really expansive and you have a lot of freedom to roam. And, if the deer isn't in a certain spot, one day you can move a mile away if you want to. So I think that's really nice. And, even, in old age someday, and having access to maybe our own property, I still like that aspect of public land hunting, just that ability to, let the conditions dictate where and when you want to go to a certain spot.
Yeah, I mean, I own a small piece, my wife and I own, and I probably hunt public 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Just because, and it'll eventually get to the point where it's going to be set up for my kids anyhow, so I'll end up not hunting it at all unless there's a giant there like there is right now.
Yeah.
A true giant.
Yeah.
Small piece.
We'll show you after the podcast. It's a Pennsylvania absolute stud. But
So.
no, Jake made a really good point, and so did Greg. Everyone did, but I think what draws a lot of people to public and the big tracks is just the ability to go.
Freedom.
Yeah. I mean, you find a track of public that's a couple thousand acres, and you're like, nothing's stopping me from, and to a point, it's the unknown as well, where I know for me, and we talk about it a lot, it's like the unknown. You go over that ridge, you don't know what, one, it looks like, two, what it could hold, and three, what type of hunting opportunity it can offer. So, and then the other side of that is like dissecting it and figuring out what the hell is going on there. And if you win, then that's a big, it's a tough feat for one. Being able to come out on top with a tag punch or even an opportunity. I think a white-tailed deer in North America on public land that it has some size to it is one of the biggest feats and biggest challenges a lot of people face. Hardcore public land hunters, when that time finally comes and you arrow one at 30 yards, there's not much that can really beat it. I think that's what we all kind of live and breathe for in a sense. So just like Timmy said, he has a good 150 acres right behind his house on his back doorstep, and he barely hunts it. I think that's what we live for in a sense. So
Yeah, I mean, the biggest deer I ever killed came off a piece of public. I'm going to stay hunting that no matter what. It's just what the attraction, like you said, Greg, it's all about the adventure. You're not the only person there, so someone else could easily shot that deer. Actually, the day I killed him, that morning, there was a guy in a stand that deer had to go by, pretty dang close because of where we had pictures of him that morning. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like what, a mile and
Yeah.
a quarter away?
Yeah, this deer went, right, he was going over a mile every day to feed.
Yeah.
Through hardwoods all the way through, and then feeding down in this lower section where at that time that was basically the only food source. Now where I ended up killing him, there were some pin oaks, but there was very few oaks that year, so he had to go there. But I was in there, and this other guy was in there, and that deer somehow got between both of us that morning because we had pictures of him. I think it was till 9:30 that morning.
Yeah.
So he was out feeding.
He's in broad daylight.
he was out. He traveled a mile and a half in daylight.
Yeah.
In early season,
Yeah.
second week of October.
Not far from access either.
That
Yep.
deer ended up going 167.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that was crazy.
So public, it's what I grew up hunting, and, it's going to stay that way.
Yeah.
There's better deer on public than there is on private anyhow. Unless you got 1,000 acres and can grow them.
The deer on private are also on public too,
Yeah.
so they're all the same deer.
Yeah.
It just depends on where you're at.
Yeah, I'm a thorough believer that if you find that spot or you find a good section of the woods, there's better better deer on public usually than there is on private. Well, you think about private piece, you're stuck to anywhere from, well, it could be any size of private, I guess, but with public, if you push yourself, I guess, to go, like we talked, like the next ridge or whatever it may be, you can definitely find the ones that are either going to die of old age or get stuck with an arrow or a bullet.
Hit by a car.
Yeah, throwing the rut, looking for ladies.
Your deer might get eaten by sharks.
Yeah.
Mud
Never
cat.
even know.
Right? Because we get the high tides, the full moons.
Yeah.
As much time I spend in the salt marsh, I've only found like 4 sheds.
As I say, they just get washed away.
Then it just washes.
Oh,
away.
shit. Especially with the wet
Jump over
spray.
ditches, and it's like I
Get
spent a
sucked
lot of
right
time
down.
out there, and it's like you would think all the bedding and all the time I spent, I had a pile full of sheds. Wrong.
Yeah. Lots of fossils in there, I'm sure, though.
Now, the weird thing is, I feel like shed hunting, and somebody's going to hear this and say, they don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, when we go down to Indiana or Ohio, we walk around in the spring, we usually find some sheds. I've found 2 sheds, 3 ever, my entire life, walking
Same.
around in the woods in Michigan. And
Oh.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
And it's a lot of times there's a lot of marshy area around. So
yeah.
I don't know if they sink in there or what.
Well, Jordan, you're not too good at finding
Yeah.
sheds. When
I'm
that video
horrible.
you sent me where you're talking about the turkeys and
Yeah.
sheds standing behind you.
It was. These guys will never forget that.
He sat down on a shed before.
So the one Derek's talking about, I was filming turkeys gobbling in March or April, and Colin and Nick are the shed gurus of the group. They would sit on a shed if they could, but probably need to cancel that out. But
Probably would.
so I was filming these turkeys like this, and there was I don't know what it was probably like a 50-inch shed with a kicker off his G2, literally 5 yards right behind me. And I filmed the turkeys gobbling or whatever, and I'm just walking around, and I turn around, and I'm like, what the? There's a shed right there. And then I'm thinking, I was sitting right there filming those turkeys, and sure enough, you look at the picture or the video, and the shed's just right there behind me.
I thought it was like the next day you went back and grabbed it.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. It
I
was.
Say, you didn't even know until you went back the next
Yeah.
day.
It was embarrassing, to say the least. Yeah. But definitely not the best shed hunter. I can relate with what you're saying, for sure.
Kind
For
of gotta have
sure.
an eye for him. Yeah, it's just,
Yeah, I'm curious to know how many guys that find the sheds, especially on public, end up killing those same bucks like the year after or whatever. I mean, I get it. I
don't
definitely
ask me for advice. I just, find-
Right.
I just pick up the sheds.
I lot of credit goes to the guys that find a matching shed year after year and goes back and kills the next year on the same buck. But yeah, I think most of the time when I shed hunt, I'm just looking for sign and for next year, because that time of the year, February, March, January, the ground's so wet from the thaw, the sign's inevitable. So, but no, that's cool. So, Tim, wrap it up here. What's one question you got? If you've been stewing any up for these guys?
I guess let's talk about a quick saddle setup. Like, we might as well, in case there's anyone new who doesn't understand what saddle hunting is. I mean, it's hard nowadays to think that there's nobody out there who understands what saddle hunting is, because it's become so popular. But let's go over what you think is like your typical saddle setup, what you're looking for, what type of tree you're looking for, that type of stuff. Whoever wants to answer.
I said I don't think it's. I usually try to tell, anybody who's unfamiliar with it. Usually, most people are familiar with setting a hang-on stand. Now, maybe you're using sticks that are like telescoping 20-foot, 25-foot ladder sticks, but go to the more mobile individual sticks, and it's really the same as a hang-on stand. You need something to climb the tree, sticks. Maybe some people on Michigan, pegs are illegal on public, but you can use sticks, pegs, whatever. Some people do the one stick thing. I tell people don't worry about that right away. Just get yourself some climbing sticks that you could try, climb the tree with. And then once you set your sticks, you need something to put your feet on, which could, again, be, foot pegs or a platform, which is essentially a little tiny hang-on tree stand. And then if you're hunting out of a hang-on stand, you should know how to use a safety harness and put a safety tether around a tree. You're essentially doing that same thing, but your harness is a little different. Instead of connecting it behind your head to that leash, the back of your shoulder blades, you're connecting it to your bridge rope, which sits in front of you at waist height and connects you from hip to hip. And your saddle harness essentially becomes your seat hanging against that safety tether. And you're on tension on that tether at all times, as opposed to a safety harness where you might have some slack in the tether. So being on tension all the time actually, I think, makes a lot of people feel a little safer, just because, they don't feel like they're going to tip or fall. Sometimes if you're sitting in your tree stand, you nod off a little bit, you catch yourself, it, wakes you up real quick. You don't really have that when you're sitting in a saddle. So it's nice. And then really the only other adjustment after that is the way you set up and the way you're looking. When you're in a saddle, you're kind of naturally going to be square, staring right at the tree. When you're standing there watching for deer, I usually kind of look off in one angle or another. But with that setup, it's basically reverse of a hang-on stand. So, if you think a deer is going to come by on a certain trail, just take where you think you would put your your hang-on stand and sit on the backside of the tree from that with your saddle. And, if you do that, your strong side shot is going to be the same. And the direction you're looking is going to be the same as any other tree stand hunting you've done in the past.
Jake, that was beautiful.
That was beautiful.
That was
Tried to simple.
They need to make a book about that.
yeah. I mean, that was like
We're writing books.
Jake writes all the.
I've got to finish
instructions.
our instructional documents for the new saddles here in the next week or two, and there's some.
I couldn't imagine. You have to
You
break
put
it.
on some different tree stand hunting safety courses and stuff like that we met at the TMA Tree Stand Manufacturers Association conference that want some just more info on exactly what I just said about how to saddle hunt, how to do it safely, all that stuff. So
I could
So
not.
he was already prepared for the question.
Oh, yeah, he has it.
PC answer.
I couldn't imagine having to write an instruction manual, putting all that in the words about how to use a saddle. That's tough.
Well, we know
Well, you
you're not
just-
going to read it.
Well, yeah, well, that and I don't know how to use it still. So
you start from the ground and think about every possible way you could fall out of the tree. Explain how not to do that.
Preventing lawsuits 101.
no. So Jake said about feeling safe in a saddle. I recently got my fiance a full saddle set up last Christmas, and she sat in mine a few times, and obviously she scared shitless going up. But as soon as she leaned back, it was like the world lit up. She was like, I feel so much safer just being able to constantly. She described it as feeling hugged in a way. So, and I think we can all relate to the whole sitting in a hang on and just leaning one way or forward. It's like, yeah, screw that. I don't know if I could ever. I do like sitting sometimes, but half the time when I'm doing an all day sit at like noon, these guys give me shit, but I'll just sit down on my platform and just get my tether to the point where I have enough tension and then I don't feel like I'm going to fall. But that was a really good explanation for sure. What about you, Colin? Any good questions for the guys? Sum it up.
Yeah, I guess I do. I mean, of all, what we could take away from here today, I guess, what would you like to tell our listeners? Like, what would be like the best advice for them getting into saddle hunting? Like, what will be like the number one takeaway, I guess?
I would say just remember a saddle is nothing more than a tool.
Right.
And you're not a saddle hunter. You're not a tree stand hunter. You don't need to wait to start hunting until you have a full saddle set up. Hunt with what you got. And when the opportunity allows to add different tools to your toolbox, do so. But, remember it's about having fun. It's about experiencing the outdoors. It's about the adventure. And, fine-tuning your gear is just a piece of that puzzle, and it by no means it does not define who you are as a hunter.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll kind of add a twist to it. That covered pretty good saddle coverage. If you guys had to describe, like, this coming year, if you had to go back to a state that you didn't tag out in, maybe Derek can like tie it all in with how much traveling you did this year, what state kind of left a bad taste in your mouth, or what state are you most excited about hunting this year?
He's excited just to go hunting.
Right.
Go hunting.
Yeah. Me personally, or Phil and Al?
We'll go both.
Al's being with Al, like, because we're a team out there. I mean, we really are. So I say we a lot, just because I'm used to it. Indiana's definitely one of them because we spend a lot of time down there. Indiana's like, I
want to go to Indiana.
I struggle down there. It's like my
Back where
least
Corey
favorite
and I
state.
were.
Also because I hate snakes really bad, and there's a lot of snakes where we're at, and but we hunted there a lot, and we didn't really see deer, but then we went there our last trip, me and Al together, right after he killed Nebraska. We drove straight from Nebraska to Indiana, and we're gonna do a couple sits. And on the last day there, we finally got in the deer, and we got on them, and we had to go. Like we just got to get home to our wives. So, like, we had to leave, and so we figured it out after being there in September a couple times, being there in October, and then we went there in November, and we figured out on the last day in November of where we needed to be. So I think we got that pretty dialed in.
So Indiana.
Yeah.
How many days would you say you think it takes to figure just any general area out?
4 to 5.
Yeah, but you got to scout a couple days probably to
Yeah.
find that spot in the first place.
Might depend on
I'm
the time of the
saying
year
6 or
too.
7.
It's 6 or 7. It always seems like we do these week-long trips. Everybody is in the deer with the
It
day we
depends
have to
what you're
leave.
doing. Like, if you're just hunting the whole like if you like spend like 5 days scouting and then like hunting 4 days,
Well,
like,
that's
it might
different,
change.
yeah.
Yeah.
I consider scouting days hunting days.
Yeah. Then I don't know. Probably like he said, we go on those 7 days trips, and everyone seems to be getting into the deer the last 3 days.
Right.
Every time. But for us, in that case, it took us 3 different trips out to that state throughout the year.
I remember that trip, D-Ruck, because I came out and met you guys
Yeah.
out there, and you were a walking zombie.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And I literally went out, hunted that afternoon, and you texted me. You're like, "We're not going out." I fell asleep at lunch.
Yeah. We went to lunch. Well, we shot a deer in Wisconsin. We drove straight to Nebraska, hunted there, shot a deer in Nebraska, and then we went straight to Indiana. So at that time, I wasn't home for like 20 days.
And you weren't
20
sleeping.
some days. We were all hunting mornings and evenings. We went to Indiana. We got into Indiana around like 9 o'clock that night. We hunted that next morning up at like 4 a.m. after driving like 12 hours. Then we went to lunch, and I like fell asleep at the lunch table at like where we were at the lunch. I'm like, "Oh, we need to take tonight off. Like, I can't do it. Like, I'm
Staying
sorry.
fresh is
I
important.
never say no, but I was like, dude, if you want this to look good, like on camera, you don't want to go hunting.
You
What do
just
you want?
shot a big deer the morning.
We shot
before
2
that.
nice deer in like a week span. It was great. So
Yeah.
I just need a break. But then I was good. I just need that one night off to like just like chill, watch some TV, and just relax.
Yeah.
And then like we said, we got into the deer.
Yeah, staying fresh is important. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially during the rut. That shit can be hateful.
And you really just got to remember, like every sit is a brand new sit, and
Right.
even if you got, completely, if your last hunt completely blew up, like you got to just forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep that mentality, stuff just seems to come together.
Yeah. Yeah, staying positive is a big thing about it. You could, especially in November, you could go from seeing no deer to having a hot doe around,
Yeah.
and the switch flips quick sometimes.
Yeah.
But good deal. I feel like that was a pretty good discussion. One last thing, I'm sure everyone knows where they can find you, but in terms of like website, social media, where can everyone find Latitude? Should just be.
Yeah, the website's latitudeoutdoors.com. And then, same thing on the socials. We got a couple podcasts. The Method Podcast, DJ Riley does a hell of a job on there. There's some really good information if you're looking to learn about travel hunting, learn tactics. The Fall Podcast, that's in our umbrella. Aaron does an awesome job. There's some incredible deer stories on there. Jake Bush Podcast, the In Session's coming back this summer, so that's always a great tactic listen. And then D-Rock, I'll let you talk about the grid a little bit because that's going to be real exciting this fall.
Yeah, so all the things we've been talking about last year, it's all documented, and it's great. And it documenting the struggles, being tired and everything. But if you watch season 1, we get a lot of compliments on that, and we're pretty grateful about it because we really had no idea what we were doing the first year. So the fact that it turned out as good as it did we're really happy about it.
Yeah.
But this year we knew what we were doing. We had a plan. We executed it, and we hunted hard. Everyone, Corey too. Like we had many new faces on camera this year than we did the year before. Nearly doubled our episode numbers from the first year. So it's going to be really exciting. We're working on it right now, putting it together. So around that first week in September, you should see episode 1 of us, me and Al in Nebraska, going out there. So we're really excited about it. It's going to be really good.
Good deal. That's just the Latitude Outdoors at YouTube, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Good deal. All right. Good guys? Yeah.
We're good.
All righty. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks, guys.